Newer, faster, electrified trains and major upgrades to stations and tracks. The Midlands rail network is getting a £500 million slice of a £9.4 billion project to revamp our railways.
The government want to create an electric spine across the country to reduce journey times and increase capacity. One of the biggest projects will be the upgrade of the Midland Main Line. The route between London St Pancras and Bedford can already run electric trains, and the new investment will mean older diesel engines will be replaced with electric services to Kettering, Corby, Leicester, Nottingham and Derby before heading north to Sheffield. Lines from Nuneaton South through Coventry to Leamington Spa and on to Oxford will also be electrified, as will the route from Walsall through Cannock to Rugeley. In a moment, we'll hear how it could mean jobs for Derby-based trainmaker Bombardier, and we'll look at just who will pay for it. But first, Rajiv Popat has this report from Leicester.
The train at platform 2 is the 0930 East Midlands trains service to Nottingham.
On that train to Leicester this morning, the Business Secretary Vince Cable, just one of a number of ministerial visits to the Midlands.
Welcome to Leicester. Thank you. No, I can't make better.
He believes the announcement that the Midland Main Line will be electrified will have huge benefits.
Electrification as regards Leicester, Nottingham, Derby, Sheffield means faster trips to London, essentially. Electrification is a much more efficient system of public transport. Save fuel, is more efficient, so there will be considerable savings that will make this investment more attractive.
At the moment, only the route between St Pancras Station and Bedford is electrified, but overhead wires will be extended via the East Midlands to Sheffield. In the future, a journey from Leicester to London will take just under an hour, making it 8 minutes faster.
I think it's about time we sort of added a bit of a faster speed train down towards London, because certainly myself and my colleagues were travelling to London quite a lot, and it would be beneficial to us.
Need to get things moving quicker when you have a very busy city, and the pollution, yeah, that's another problem that you have, so that probably would help that, behoove that.
The money's going to have to come from somewhere, and I'm sure in the end we're going to end up paying for it.
The £500 million project is part of a £9 billion package of rail improvements. The government says this is the biggest expansion in our railways for more than 150 years. But who will actually end up paying for all of the work?
There are already fare increases which are factored in. There's no intention to increase beyond those. So, you know, passengers obviously pay through charges.
So you can guarantee that passengers will not face further fare hikes?
Well, there are no plans to increase fares beyond those that are already agreed and approved.
Business leaders say the decision is long overdue and will have a positive impact on Leicester and beyond.
It unlocks a lot of pent-up development potential. We're seeing a great upturn in manufacturing for export. You know, we have the technology in more ways than one. We've got it to give, and it's our chance to bring it to the world.
Work to modernise the route starts in 2014.
Well, let's now go live to Leicester train station. Rajiv, can we begin to see an end to rush hour commuter chaos with these new plans, do you think?
I don't think so, Bob. In fact, I think it could get worse, because if the trains get faster, that could mean more people ditching their cars and getting on the train. Well, I'm joined now by Rory Palmer, who's the Deputy Mayor of Leicester. You've really welcomed this news, haven't you?
This is great news, and I'm really pleased the government have finally listened to the case being made by local councils, by members of Parliament and by business organisations from right across the East Midlands region. For Leicester, the benefits of this investment will be significant. Real economic benefits, making us more attractive to investors, creating jobs in the area. Real environmental benefits, will see carbon reduced on an electrified Midland Main Line. But ultimately, I think faster journey times are what the public, the travelling public, expect from a modern rail system.
8 minutes, it's going to take 8 minutes off the journey. Will that really make a difference?
I think over time that benefit will be seen as really important, because in the coming years and decades we'll see other parts of the country potentially benefiting from the high-speed 2 network and all the prosperity and benefits that will bring. So it's really important that places such as Leicester here on the Midland Main Line get this investment to make sure we can stay competitive as well.
OK, thank you very much. Well, as we heard, the work gets underway in just over a year and a half, and let's just keep our fingers crossed that when that work actually does start, that disruption is kept to a minimum.
Rajiv, thanks very much.
Now, one of the biggest beneficiaries of the rail investment could be the train manufacturer Bombardier, who are based in Derby.
Our reporter Michael Sibbett has been in the city today to gauge reaction there.
It's been more like a bumpy roller coaster ride than a smooth electric train journey for those at train manufacturer Bombardier here in Derby over the last 12 months. It's now more than a year since they lost out on that £1.6 billion contract to German-based Siemens to build trains for the new Thames link in London. But with today's announcement of the new electric lines comes the need for new electric trains, and it seems like Bombardier are right in the frame.
We should be talking to key suppliers like Bombardier and other companies with big bases in Britain so that when the new contracts are coming up, they know what's coming.
Well, here in Derby, Bombardier are developing a new type of hybrid train that could be used to turn current diesel trains into electric ones to use on the new lines. It's that sort of innovation that could stand them in good stead for the new contracts.
We're already like one step ahead because we've already developed this hybrid train. So, like I say, it's the bigger the market, the more viable a product it will be, and it could be the opening of a brand new revenue stream for us.
Well, Bombardier have released a statement today saying that today's announcement is good for the UK economy and for rail users and also for the environment, but nothing about those new contracts. But it's not just Bombardier that could benefit from today's announcement. The Chamber of Commerce for Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire have done their own calculations on how it could help the East Midlands. They think that if the route is electrified, it could add £195 million to the region's economy. It also claims that greener, faster trains will cut carbon emissions by 13,000 tonnes a year, and that the newer network will reduce running costs for the train operators by £60 million a year.
We're very keen to see new inward investment coming into Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, the rest of the East Midlands, and having first-rate transport facilities is an essential part of attracting new jobs and new companies.
This is really exciting news, particularly for our passengers who are going to get a more modern railway. With electric trains we'll be able to run quicker journeys, we'll be able to offer quicker journeys. It's going to mean smoother trains as well.
When these rail improvements are due to get underway, that's 2014, it'll be the 175th anniversary of train manufacturing here in Derby. That's still 2 years away. So even though improvements and benefits are coming, it's not in the immediate short term. Michael Sibbett in Derby for Central Tonight.
Well, for more on this, we're joined now by our political correspondent, Alison McKenzie. Alison, we're hearing lots of facts and figures today. In your opinion, how do you assess the importance of today's announcement?
Well, it does sound like a big lot of money, doesn't it? $9 billion plus. But what I can tell you is that less than half of that is actually new announcements today. A lot of that was already up and running, so they've kind of sort of branded it as a big new project, but let's put that in perspective. But they did pick the Midlands, the West Midlands. Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg were here today at a depot for maintaining carriages in Smethwick in the Midlands. So they target this area. They know the importance of the rail industry to this area. They chatted to workers. But of course, amongst all those announcements covered there by Michael and by Rajiv, what about HS2, the big asked question? And the HS2 would cost in future $35 billion. So if we're questioning where this $4 billion might come from, is that now going to go ahead? And we put the question to Mr Cameron, is, after all this today, HS2 really necessary?
Yes, is the short answer to that. I mean, when we originally looked at HS2, it was because clearly Britain needs to have another Western main line, and you've got a choice. You either build another conventional one or you build a high-speed one. And we looked very carefully at this and came to the conclusion that it was right to get on board the high-speed revolution that is taking over so much of railway systems in the world.
So HS2 not lost, but of course a big East Midlands announcement as we saw there with our reporters, but West Midlands interest too today. Nuneaton, the line there to be electrified down to Leamington Spa, and Caroline Spellman, the Meriden MP and Environment Secretary, says the Cabinet spread out across the Midlands with this good news. She was keen to point out the benefits of that plan, and she told us today, good news for the West Midlands.
I think it's a very exciting commitment to this part of the country that will improve the quality of our rail services, specifically the electrification of the line between Leamington Spa and Nuneaton, with significant improvements in the local stations, in passenger services. So for us here in Coventry and the surrounding area, this is good news.
But as Rajiv hinted in his report, who's going to pay for it? And that's the big questions, all the political questioning of this. Where's the money going to come from? Is it going to be passengers? And we spoke to the Labour's Transport Shadow Secretary, who questions, when is it going to happen anyway?
None of this money is going to be spent before 2014, most of it in the next Parliament. So it's not going to do anything to help jobs and growth now. And now is when we have a double-dip recession, when we need confidence and jobs and growth.
Over the years, successive governments have said that the passenger must pay more of the burden of running the railways. The problem is that the very heavy costs of the railway have increasingly fallen on a smallish group of passengers who don't like it. And they've become vocal, and even the government has realised these prices can't keep spiralling up like this. So what passengers will want to see is the government really keeping the lid on prices.
And Alison, we saw Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg side by side there. Does that mean the coalition is back on track, as it were?
Well, that's what they want you to think, appearing here in the Midlands today, saying as much. Somebody actually questioned, is it the sign of a marriage just being held together for the sake of the children? But they were taking bets. Yes, they say they're still here, on track, in the coalition till 2015.
Alison, thank you.